Welcome to, I don't know what we're calling this anymore. We call it fabric time, but we stopped that because, I don't know, we still play with fabric and it's still time, I guess. But Sewing Badly with Brent has been a very popular name, so I guess we'll stick with that. Oh, wow, look at that. I am in sad need of a haircut, as you can see, and all that sort of stuff. It is 8 o'clock. I said I was going to start at 8. It's 8, so I guess we're starting. Shop news, not a whole lot. We do have tuckerizing a pattern with Bonnie next weekend, which is the studio, how to use the Studio 180 templates to make quilts. Bonnie does a great job. Check it out online. Feel free to sign up for that. We also have Sewing with My Nomies coming up, and I should have gotten all the samples over here so I could show those to you, but I'm kind of got myself boxed in because I got wires running everywhere, so I don't really want to get up and go get that because you see I'm trying a different set today so that I can show you all what's going on the Luminaire. And it's in reverse on the screen. That's going to be awesome. Sorry, I didn't realize that the screen was going to be backwards, but you'll all be able to follow along. It'll be fun. You can like put a mirror up to your television, watch the mirror, and it'll make sense, I suppose. So today we are actually going to do some quilting. I'm going to attempt to quilt a table runner on this machine. It's going to be very exciting. Brenda just did a class on this, I think, last weekend before, a couple weekends ago. I don't know. We did a class on it. There's a book and all that. I'm not using the book. I'm going to use built-in designs on the machine. So anybody that has a Luminaire, a Dream Machine, or a Stellaire should all be able to do this to some degree the way that I'm doing it. It's not going to be anything special or fancy. It's just going to be an easy way to do some custom quilting on table runners and such. So without further ado, I suppose I should get into it. I keep thinking I'm going to get more than like 2 people watching me, but apparently I don't. Yet everybody that comes into the shop is like, I saw you on YouTube, but I don't know how, because there's only like 3, maybe 4 of you that watch this on a regular basis. Maybe they catch the reruns. I don't know. As I was saying, if you caught me on the Facer books, because I did a little Facebook pre-show thing, and I was talking about, we will be starting shortly a fabric club. I don't know, a thing called the Fabric Club. Anyway, what we're going to be doing is 6 half-yard cuts. You have to subscribe to it because I'm not going to just cut these randomly. But we're going to have 6 half-yard cuts available. It's $30 a month, and what you'll get is 6 half-yard cuts of whatever I choose. But they're all going to come out of basic lines, different blenders. Like someday, one of them might be 6 cuts of maybe the burlap or the wave texture or the Toscana. But it'll be kind of a coordinated collection, 6 cuts, and there'll be a little card in there to tell you what it is. So if you want more of it, you can always order it. And we're going to run that like a subscription. So you pay for it every month. You're $30 a month, and you get your little packet of fabric. If you want us to ship it to you, it'll be $5 extra. So for $35 a month, you'll get 3 yards of fabric. Just shows up at your door of some nice blenders. They're always going to be blenders and basics. So some of them, like the new Floral Impressions collection that came in earlier this week, something like that might end up in there because that's considered a basic line. And that's something we're going to be starting hopefully in April if all goes well. Hello, Nancy. Glad you could make it. Have they quarantined you yet, Nancy? Because you're over in Vermont, because they're shutting the state down. I don't know. Maybe they're shutting New Hampshire down too. I don't know. But I'm thinking we're going to do more of this with the coronavirus because then we can all just sit and hang out and talk to each other on screens. And then we don't have to touch anybody or sneeze on each other. And now I'm rambling because that's what I do. I sit here and talk to myself and stare at a camera and I ramble. But like I said, we are going to do some quilting. So this is the project. Well, this is the 60-degree runner I practiced on last time. So what we're going to do is, you see the quilting on here. You can see the fancy quilting on that kind of right there. All that quilting is what we're going to be doing. We're not going to be doing it on this one because that was the practice run. We're going to be doing it on this quilt here because if you all remember, I made this. I think I made the green one online, but this was another one that I had made last time to use the 60-degree ruler. So if you watch the previous episode, you can make a table runner similar to this, and then you can follow this episode later, or you can go back in time, whatever, and then quilt it on your machine. And if you don't have a machine that can do what we're about to do, feel free to come into the shop, and I will sell you one or give me a call and I'll sell you one, or whatever. I have machines and I want to sell them, so come buy them. And yes, we can do webinars. Okay, a webinar, is that like a seminar on the web? I don't know. Webinar just sounds weird to say, but I guess it makes sense because it's like a compound word, webinar, the root being web, which is ancient Latin for connected together through the Ethernet cables. Did you know ether? I think ether was a Latin word, so maybe that would make sense in etymology. You know, if you're going to write a dictionary 100 years from now, and web is is on like a spelling bee or something. Again, I'm rambling, and I'm sorry. I've been at this for 5 minutes, and so without further ado, you know, I have to ramble a little bit to get started for the latecomers, but I figure anybody that's coming now is here, so I guess we'll get started on quilting. First thing you want to do if you're going to quilt is you got to get yourself some batting and some back. Now, what I would recommend, you can use scrap batting for this, but what we found is that if you can find the Dream Quilter's Dream Blend, which is a 30-60, 30% polyester, 30-60, yeah, that math doesn't work. It's a 30-70 blend. 30% polyester, 70% cotton is a great batting for any sort of embroidery project, because what it is that polyester in it gives it stabilizes it. So if you look at normal Quilter's Dream cotton, when you pull it, it pulls a little bit. The Dream Blend, which is the 70-30 poly blend, doesn't pull, so it acts as a really nice stabilizer. So anytime you're going to be doing any sort of project where you're using your embroidery machine, the Dream Blend 70-30 blend works really well. Now, from my understanding, it is the same or similar to Battleizer, which is another product out there that's used often for embroidering on quilts. But the Dream Blend 70-30 blend is very similar to Battleizer. I don't know how the prices compare. I get the Dream Blend because we work with Dream Cotton. If you get your hands on Battleizer, same thing. But that's going to work really well for what we're about to do. So that's what I've got here. I just got a chunk of batting. And as in all cases with quilting, you want it to be bigger than your top. So you'll notice that when I lay my top on here, this is kind of fun. I'm just sitting here talking, and I should get up maybe. As I put the top on there, it's significantly bigger. Doesn't have to be that much bigger, but you do want it bigger because it's going to make it easier to deal with. Same for the back. Back wants to be significantly bigger as well. Now, especially when you're doing this type of stuff on the embroidery machine, you are going to want a bigger back because you have to hoop. I have my eye itches. I just touched my eye. I'm going to die because I'm touching my face. My eye itches because I have contacts to make my eyes itch. So now I'm going to die of the virus. But you want a bigger back because you need the space for the hooping when you're putting it in the hoop to embroider. So when you're doing this, oftentimes, like I said, you want to give yourself plenty of room, because if you're too tight on the back, you're not going to have enough backing material to hoop it up when you're near the corners and on the edges. So those are two things to keep in mind as you're doing this. The other thing that I have done ahead of time to prep so that I'm not boring you all, I hope sound still comes through as I turn around here. And I'm pulling that over because where's that caught? That's caught on my leg. So you all got to see the camera about come over because I'm tangled up in the cables, because I'm trying to do this so you can all see what's going on. And as the camera falls over and I fall on my head, you can all laugh. I give you permission. So let's try that again. Wrong button. Jeez, look at that. I'm dead sexy in this striped shirt. Get some of that. All right. What I was going to show you. Oh, what I did ahead of time. You'll notice what I did ahead of time is, well, it's kind of faded in here. But I marked on here in can you see it? I don't think you're going to be able to see it. You can you see that right there? This is kind of difficult. There is a faint line. I don't know if you can see that line right there. I chalked a line down the center. I chalked a line down the center with a chalk pen, and then I just took my ruler, which is 8.5 inches wide, and did 8.5 inches on either side, because I know 8.5 will fit in my hoop. Now I just chalked that on there so that I have a reference of where I'm going to be putting my patterns as I quilt this on, because I'm not going to do an end-to-end continuous thing. that's a whole nother project, and lining it all up and making it look right is, I don't want to get into that tonight. So what I did is I just chalked out sections. So we're going to embroider patterns in the different sections to act as quilting for this project. So without further ado, let's get into that where we're on the machine. So there's the machine, and like I said, I don't know how to fix it so it's not backwards. So you're gonna have to just watch it backwards, like hold a mirror up to it and make it look right. So what you can do is you can actually, you should take your hoop off for hooping, but I'm just going to leave it on there because we're using the magnetic hoop. So all I'm going to do is just find my halfway point. I know this is plenty big, so I don't have to be too careful about this. So I'm just going to do my halfway point somewhere in there and pull that up like so, give or take. That looks nice. Now, if I wasn't doing this, I would probably hoop this up on a table beforehand so that I'm sure that it's all nice and flat. But because I'm trying to do this on the fly so that you can all watch it and not watch me trip over the cables, and, well, I guess that would make for better television if I tripped over the cables and fell on my head, and it would just be fantastic, and I'd end up on some sort of fail army video. Okay, so now I'm hoping this all lines up right. I'm kind of eyeballing it. Like I said, you would want to, you know what? Okay, we're going to cheat. I was just going to try and do it in there, but it's obviously not going to work out that well. So what we're going to do is, oh wait, we'll just do it that way. We're going to use this here, throw the hoop on it, and then we're going to put the back on it. See, isn't this exciting? You all get to watch me make a mess. And Brenda's in California. She's probably watching from California right now thinking, what the heck is Brent doing to my stuff? And I'm making a mess is what I'm doing. And so that goes like that. And like I said, I made everything plenty big, so I'm not overly concerned about it not being where it needs to be. Now, I'm not going to do it right. Whenever you quilt, you kind of want to start in the center and work your way out from the center. I do, like I said, have the center line marked on here with some chalk, but I'm going to work off to the side. I've got a section right there marked out. I'm going to throw this bad boy on there. We're using magnetic hoop. Now, if you don't have a snap hoop, you may want to get one if you're going to be doing a lot of this sort of stuff, because it makes this a whole lot easier. I don't know if you're all just watching how I just kind of laid it out and then I dropped this on there and we're done hooping. Snap hoops are fantastic for this. Now, they do limit it. If you do have super thick batting, or your project super thick, it may not work as well as you would like it to. If you have like the Cuddle minky fabric on the back, it won't work. It kind of slides a little bit, but in most cases for this sort of project, it's going to work just fine. So I got that hooped up, and we're going to get this going, I think, maybe. And all I'm going to do now, we'll switch over there so you can see all the magic happening. Okay. So I'm just going to put that bad boy on there. And away we go. Okay. Now, like I said, I don't know how to not make it the reverse image, so you're all just going to have to bear with me. I didn't think of that when I set this whole thing up. And one thing you do want to do, when you are embroidering, always, and this is just kind of a pro tip, you know how I do my pro tips, make sure your stuff's not underneath the, that stuff isn't caught underneath the hoop here. That happens especially on the back, in the back, you can run into that. So you just want to make sure that when you get everything in the hoop that everything's draped nice, because if it's caught underneath and you sew it in, it kind of sucks. I'm just using white thread because that's what's on the machine. So we're going to go into embroidery. Well, we're already loaded up in embroidery. If you can probably see that. Let me see if I can get a better angle on things here for y'all. And I just made y'all seasick. I'm sorry. And you get the glare on that. How do we get the glare off? Get closer. Does the glare go away? There. That kind of helps, I guess. I don't know. Yeah, this is low budget, so you guys will make do. Okay. So we're in the embroidery phase. So I'm just going to pick a pattern. And when I was playing with this earlier, I believe it's under here. Section 4 has some good. What you want to do when you're trying to find a pattern to embroider, the trick is not to do something with a big. like something that has a lot of fill stitches. You want to look for basically line stuff. Now, there are quilting patterns built into most of these machines now. So I'm going to show you where those are at. But that's something to keep in mind. What you're going to quilt with, you don't want like all out embroidery because it's going to be super thick. You can do it, don't get me wrong, but it comes up pattern. All right, so we're going to, oh gosh, where are we at? I know I had one in here. Was it under here? No. And like I said, this is, oh, this one should have it. So I've got a bunch here. That'll actually work really good right there. So if you're on a luminaire in section 7, you've got some really good patterns, and you can see that. Oh, you can't really see that on here, can you? Hold on. I'm going to try and get that so you can get a much better view of it. And look at that, and it's all blurry, and if I do that, does that help? I don't know, it kind of helps. But you can see all the different patterns on here. So you've got some nice things to choose from. We're just kind of doing some all over quilting, so I don't want too much of anything. There's some fun stuff on there. Just for the fun of it, I think I'm going to do now, because it's going to line up. See, the problem you have with like straight lines like that one there is if your sewing's not straight, it's going to look like poop. And Madgar says it's not reversed. It's fine. So why does it look reversed on my screen? Who knows? Maybe there's some magic that happens in YouTube land. So I'm just going to see what we've got for, you know what, let's go with, so you could go something like that, but that's like an 8-minute stitch out. I don't know if you can all see that on there. I'm going to put that up there so you can kind of see. Yeah, okay. So that pattern right there would work really well because it's just mostly lines. But it's also an 8-minute stitch. You can see, oops, you can't see because of the, there you go. You see up here, it's an 8-minute stitch out. We don't want to do that. Well, we could, but I don't know how, if you guys want me to do that. Just for the sake of what we're doing, this one here looks like, that one is kind of a fun little fill. That probably will do fantastic for what we're doing. We're just trying to get some quilting down on the quilt. So that's our pattern, and if we like it, we're going to hit. Let me zoom out so you can see the button process. What's off? I don't know. It just turned off. Who knows? Auto. Does that help? I don't know if that helped at all. Okay. So we're just going to hit set because we like that one. And now we are in the, now we've got the pattern loaded. Like I said, this will work for Dream Machine, Stellaires, Lumen, and Luminaires. The process for getting the image in the Stellaire is going to be a little different on the Luminaire. And in the Dream Machine, it should be pretty much the same. So the next thing I'm going to do now is I am going to, this button up here is your scan button. Because what I want to do is I'm going to scan in, and I'm going to hit scan. And of course, yes, it's going to hit. I'm going to hit OK. I want to scan in my table runner because I want to scan my table runner in so that I can see where I'm going to put my design. And I've already got lines pre-sectioned on here, so I have an idea where I'm going to put that design. But first, I'm scanning it in. You can kind of watch it while it's doing it. It's going to scan in, and then you'll see the screen after. It'll show me what that runner looks like in the hoop, and then we're going to put our table runner on top of it. So if we come back to here, you can see now our background image is our hoop, and you can also see that I didn't hoop straight. I don't really care about that. That's not super important to me at this point. Now, a couple things I'm going to do. First off, to make my life easier, I'm going to hit close. Right here, I'm going to change that thread color just because I want to see it better on my screen. It doesn't really work. I'm going to change it to like an orange. See, because of the colors, maybe the green work. Green works. Looks good. I'm going to just change the color of the thread so that I can see it better on my screen. I don't know if you guys could see the difference in the as I tried different colors, how it looked on the screen, but green seems to be the color to show up on everything. Let's see if there's more something. I like orange, but that's not going to show up there. Red, because of the color of that. I guess we're stuck with green. We're going to go with green. Like I said, I'm just totally. And you've got lost. Okay, there we go. Nice bright green there. That looks good. Okay, so I just want to. I'm just changing the color so that I can see the stitching up here better on the screen. That's the only reason I'm doing that. So I'm just going to hit OK there. The next thing I'm going to do, so now I can see this on the screen, it's laid out. It's not quite where I want it to be. I also want to double check, and you can zoom to get a better feel for what things look like. No, that's not what we want to do. Oh, where is my? Oh, there we go. The hand. So, what I am looking for is I do have some marks on there. Well, I don't know that they're on there. You know what? I'm not going to worry about it. I'm just going to throw it on there and we'll work with it. I did mark it so that you could see it, but they didn't scan through very well, so I'm not going to worry about it. I'm going to bring it back 100%. All I'm going to do now is I'm going to go to Edit and Rotate, because I want to rotate this. Actually, no, I'm going to go to Edit Size. Very important here in the size setting. You can see up here that you've got let me use this here. This is highlighted. That's going to be your default sizing. So what that's going to do is you're only going to be able to resize when it's about 20% of the original size of the pattern, because it's not going to do much with the density. This will actually change your stitch density and will allow you to resize much bigger. So what I like to do first off when I'm doing this, I'm going to just start with that right out of the gate. And what it's going to ask me is reset. I'm going to hit OK. And I'm doing that first because when I start to rotate everything, if it's not big enough and I got to come back, it's going to throw it all out of whack. And then I also know that I want to go a little bit bigger because it's about centered in my hoop, and I'm going to go a little bit bigger because this line here is the halfway point on my runner, and I'm just going to bring that up to be even with that. I'm going to hit OK. And I want to rotate it because you can see on here, I don't know if you guys can see this on the screen, but that's kind of crooked across the top. Can you guys see that? You see how I'm kind of crooked across the top there? So I'm going to use the rotate function to match the angle of the, make the pattern match the angle of my runner. And then I'm just going to rotate it. And I'm just looking at that bottom of that seam there. And I'm just going to move that up a little bit. And it's going to go right about there. I like the way that looks. It looks straight on there. And then I'm going to hit OK. I'm going to come back to size as well now. And you've got a couple different options for sizing. That's going to resize everything at once. That's going to resize just the top and bottom. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to actually, now that my angle's right, I'm just going to make it a little bit taller so it takes up the top half of my runner, like so. And I can see, and if you look closely at the top here, I don't know if you guys can see this or not. It's going to be near the top. We're fairly straight across the bottom, but we do need to rotate it ever so little to there. So I don't know if this is coming through. I hope it is. But anyway, so we've got it laid out. I like the way that looks. I'm going to hit OK. Now, what's really nice about the Luminaire, nice enough on the screen to give you the edit and the layout button. On a Dream Machine, this is not true. The Stellaire, this should be the. But you'll notice up here it says edit. The edit is different. Now, if I hit embroidery, than layout. You have more functionality in the edit function. You can change colors. If you open the edit up, you've got a lot more functionality here than if you are in the layout screen. Layout has basic layout stuff. Now, what is nice about layout is there's two options here. Now, these work fantastic for when you're quilting, because if you had put two patterns on here, the machine would want to stop between each pattern because it sees it as a color change. It would actually show two colors up here. If you highlight this button here, that is single color. What that's going to do is change. The machine's going to see all colors as one color. So there's not going to be any thread changes. So if you're ever running a design and you don't want to change thread, touch that button And now there's going to be no thread changes. It's going to run straight through the design, not stopping for anything. So that's a nice function if you're quilting, so that you're not, if you put two patterns, so it's not going to stop between patterns. It's just going to quilt the whole thing. So that's something to keep in mind. And that's this button here. That's going to be your single color button. This other button is helpful if you put multiple patterns on here and you want to do all the black at once, all the red at once. That's just going to shuffle the colors. We're not going to deal with that. I just want that, I guess I'm just going to turn that on because it's a nice function to have. It's not going to make a difference because we're only doing one color. So with that all done, let me zoom back out. I'm going to say I like it. So my button is green and I just press go. And I'm going to stop because I can see that I didn't thread my needle. Yay for needle threaders. All right, and then I'm just going to come back to 0. Oh, the other thing you may want to do, and I'll show this to you because this is important. If you go to stitch 1, that's going to put me at the very first stitch. And then if you're, now I'm not this kind of person, but you know, why is that not focusing? Turn focus, autofocus on. Is that focusing? Okay, that looks better. All right. If you are a person that is really kind of a perfectionist, what you can do is you can see where I just, oh, let me pick up my, I'm going to pick up my foot so I can pull a little slack. I hit plus 1 stitch. So I'm at the very first stitch. So this is where my first stitch is going to go down. I am now just going to do a needle down, needle up. And I'm just going to pull up my bobbin thread. If you are a perfectionist type person, you may want to do that so that all your thread is at the top. I usually don't care. I just trim my threads after. But if you pull enough up, you can, if you pull enough up, you can bury them after. So there's that. And then I suppose I should cut those now. So what that's going to do now is that's just going to run. Very exciting. I guess I could let you watch it run, but you can see it run from there, and then I can talk and feel like I'm not watching water, making you watch water boil. So what that's going to do now is that's going to stitch out that section that I scanned in. And like I said, I did put some reference marks on there that I could see on the screen. I didn't do the projector. That's what I wanted to do because the projector is really cool with this because you can turn the projector on and see where it's going to be. I'll do that on the next. Sorry about that. Because I'm so used to doing this on the machine. But you can actually use the projector to make sure that your pattern is where you want it to be, and that's very helpful. But like I said, I did previously mark this so that I know where this pattern is going to hit. So that's basically quilting with an embroidery machine. It's just a matter of getting the right. It's just a matter of getting the correct. Of getting the right pattern, because that's all you're really trying to do is just get a pattern that's going to look nice on your machine. And keep in mind, it's much easier to do this working. You're going to work in sections instead of trying to do an end to end, which is doable. You can line stuff up, but with this, we're just going to. Oh, that looks like crap. We got something going on with the bobbin, I think. But you know what? I'm not going to worry about it because it's a sample and we'll deal with it after. But one of the stitches, it looks like the stitches aren't doing, looks like there's something up with the bobbin. Okay, I can't do it. I want to just let it be. I just want to let it go, but I can't. For as much as I talk about being a lazy, half-ass quilter, I can't do it. I can't let myself do it. And what do we got going on? Bobbin looks good. See, now this bobbin is kind of janky looking on the top, so it might not be pulling properly off of there, but we'll put it back in and hope it looks all right. That looks good, and that all looks good. What's the back look like? Back actually looks pretty good. I'm not going to worry about it. Good enough. Close enough for what we're doing here today. I just stopped it because it looked like it skipped a stitch or two, but I'm not going to worry about it. I don't think it's anything serious. All right, we're just going to back it up a couple stitches. We're going to press go. So that's embroidery in the hoop, so you can kind of watch it go. And whenever you take the hoop out, always make sure that you didn't fold anything underneath when you put it back on, because that's always off when that happens. So all I'm doing now is, like I said, I'm just going to let that run. It's going to take, why does it say it's going to take 5 minutes? That's kind of crazy. So anyway, it thinks it's going to take 5 minutes, but I don't know why it says that. Unless it's going to do 2 rows, I have no idea. But that's quilting. I mean, you see, that's how you quilt something in the hoop with an embroidery machine. It's not really, there's not a lot to it. You just kind of line it up, press go. The real trick is finding the embroidery pattern that's going to look right, because you want something that's going to be a running stitch. You don't want something that's a fill stitch. Now, of course, after I take this out, I'll move it, and then I'll use my camera to scan it in again, so I can see where the pattern I just put down ends, and I can put the next one on, so that it all lines up and the spacing looks right. And that's what's nice about, like I said, the Dream Machine, the Stellaire, and the Luminaire have that functionality. The Dream Creator does not, but you can get pretty handy with there is some positioning tricks to be able to do it without the camera. But the camera just makes life easier. So I'm going to just kind of say that's that, really. I mean, that was what I wanted to show you today. I could ramble on for some more, but I figure, it's been a long week because, we changed time on Sunday and I still haven't caught up. So I don't want to be rambling for too much longer. I want to go home and go to bed because, well, like I said, it's been a long week. But since I got you all here, if there's any questions, like we like to open it up for questions. The whole point of going live is for audience interaction, even if it is an audience of like 4. Is it 4? It says I have 4 people watching, but my suspicion is it's really only like 2 or maybe even 1, because you're all like watching on 6 different devices. But anyway, that's that. If you like this, subscribe, and all that stuff. Like I said, coming up, we did with the Tula Pink homemade did just come in. That's available online for $9.95 a yard. We had a Tuckerize a Pattern Studio 180 design class is coming up next Saturday, a week from tomorrow. We also have Sewing with My Nomies, which is the Kimberbell 2-day event, is coming up late April. So that's also coming up. Sign up for that, because we do have the sample on display now at the store, so that's filling up quick. And if you are interested, please sign up, because we may run a second class if we get enough interest in the first one. And with that note, you know what? Well, I'll tell you what. I've rambled long enough that this is about over. So I'll show you. We'll reposition it and run the second go round if you all want to see that. And I suppose we could do that. So if you'll see, it just ended. Now, one of the with this is, look at that. Oh, yay, finished embroidery. Happy day. I'm going to hit OK. One of the tricks with the magnetic hoop, now that we have it started, everything's kind of held in place. What you can do is you can just grab this, pry it off, and it fits right over the throat of your machine, just like that. And now I'm just going to move this up, because I did the top half of that. And I'm just going to move that up a little bit so that I can make sure everything, and you can usually feel if everything's kind of straight on the bottom, and you can kind of feel your hoop underneath. And so all I'm going to do now is bring this back over, line it up, pull stuff tight, and I am ready to, that's going to be kind of close to the bottom, so let's pick that up and just slide it a little bit further that way. So there we go. There, and that's all I do whenever I want to reposition. That's pretty much all I do, is that right there. So that's all repositioned. I want to make sure that nothing's caught underneath. And so now I've moved the section up, so I'm just going to do the section underneath what I just did, and everything looks good. So if you'll notice, my screen still has my pattern on it. All I'm going to do now is I'm going to hit OK, close that screen out. I'm just going to turn on and scan my background. I'll hit OK, scans the background. Doo-doo-doo. Yes, I'm going to use the projector this time, Danny. That's why I figured I was here and stopped, so I was going to throw the projector on there just so you could all see it. And I just lost Nancy because I know Nancy would like to see this, but hey, she can watch it on the rerun. So all we're going to do now is we just scanned it in. We're going to wait for it to come up on our screen. And here it is on our screen over here. Now, let me see if we can kind of get that in there a little bit. And you can kind of see that on the screen. All I'm going to do is that pattern needs to come down to the bottom half of my table runner. And it's a little bit large for that. So I'm going to now close that. I'm going to go back to edit so I can size this. And I'm just going to bring it, I'm going to make it a little bit smaller because, and then I'm also, actually I'm not going to make it smaller. I'm going to also rotate it a hair back in that direction, line it up with that. And that all looks good. We'll tap it up, tap the tippity tap tap. Now, if I'm going to be using the projector on here, and the thread color is important because that's what it's going to project for a color. So I'm actually going to change that to a brighter, like a bright yellow, so that it shows up really nice when I project it. So now I'm going to go to embroidery, and I'm going to hit this little cone button here. Oops, can we? And so this button right here is the projector. So I'm going to hit that, and I don't know if you can see, that's going to move, and it's now going to do its thing. So I don't know if you can see that. I'm going to see if we can't zoom in on that a little bit. We might be able to change the angle here. Oh, come on. Okay, I'm going to switch you all back to so I don't make you seasick as I try to adjust this so you can get a better angle on the projector there. Now, hopefully, so you can see those yellow lines right there? The reason I switched to yellow thread is so that you can see that is, those yellow lines is the actual pattern that it's projecting of where it's going to stitch out. And I want to actually see what that's going to look like up in this. Now you've got a small window. If you'll notice, you've only got a small window where that projector, see if I lighten it up, you can kind of see it a little bit better. That window is as big as you get for a projector space, but you can move that window around so you can see where everything lines up. So I'm going to kind of put that up here in this corner here. So I want to see how that corner up here, see how that, you can see where this line comes up here, and I can see my previous pattern there. So I can see that the spacing there is really good. So that's where the projector really comes in nice. I'm going to actually move this over to here, check the other side out. So you can see where the edge of it is up here, and then you've got the pattern there, and I'm pretty straight down through there. And you can see that it's really showing up. That's why I changed the thread color to yellow, so that you could really see that projector show up on the screen. And I like the way that looks. Well, we'll come down here and check this too, since we're playing with this. And the darker colors is not showing up quite as well. Maybe with the white, it's not going to show up as well in those colors. But you can kind of see it there. It's showing up a little bit. And I'm just going to make sure that on the edge of my, yep, and I can see right here on the edge, everything looks good. So that's how you would use the projector. And then you can move it and adjust it if you need to. But that's one of the tricks, like I said, for the projector. One of the tricks for the projector is to change that thread color to like a yellow or like a red, something that's going to contrast really nicely with the fabric that you have on there so that it shows up nicely. So yeah, there you go. I showed you the projector. I'll probably edit this all later at some point so it's more condensed. And I guess it's just, we got 3 people. Yay, that was fun. Thank you all for watching. Any questions, feel free to give us a call here at 4 Pines Quilting. Check us out on the website, 4pinesquilting.com. Like, subscribe, share, all that good stuff. And we'll see you in a couple weeks. Thanks for watching.